Yeah. Man, when you have the last 3-4 days in the market that we've had, you start these videos and you think to yourself like, what can you say that's witty and clever? And I think to myself today, you know, I look at the AMC, I look at the SPY, I look at the broad market. And all you can think to yourself is, man, this thing looks bloodier than my kneecaps when Titan wants to fucking play right now, guys. Welcome back to Trey's Trades. We freaking talk fast and don't skip class. Like by saying I'm not financial expert. So take what we say with a grain of salt. Let's get into the video today, guys. We're going to give you a pretty thorough, in-depth update on a couple different things. I'm going to talk about AMC, the SPY, and then I'll give you guys a play of the day for tomorrow. And I want to keep one thing in mind as well, and that's super high juiced implied volatility when you're looking at different plays in the market right now, meaning you want to attack quick. You know, all of these have kind of been scalps for these plays of the day, whatever. So if you're interested in that, just be able to pounce fast if that's something that you're interested in. But we're going to talk about the sell-off that we've had for the last couple of days, when I think this will end personally, and then the SPY and the equivalency, this sort of, there's a lot of similarities in the way that these things are moving right now and the weakness that you're seeing in AMC compared to the broad market. As a little bonus, Robinhood had a pretty interesting piece of news I think most people should talk about. I know you're thinking to yourself maybe, oh wow, but Trey, Robinhood, this is the great company. I can't even say that. It's a great company. It's so good. I've got something pretty funny you guys will get a kick out of. Then we're going to talk about the SPY, inflation, basis point hikes. Obviously, these have been a very hot topic. The Fed's been very hawkish. We're going to discuss that. China lockdown and GDP per capita. I actually found this to be interesting. This is something that I started thinking about because of Elon Musk, and I crunched some numbers that I find to be interesting amidst sort of this lockdown that China's dealing with, and then important levels. So starting off right off the bat, AMC, right? What's going on with Amy? What's going on with her girl? Why is this selling off the way that it is, right? I've talked about this before. I'll bring it up again. I'm not going to shy away from things that I find to be relevant and true. And what that thing is, the premium difference between calls and puts, right? You look at the current price, it's $50.50 at close. Calls, 69 cents. Puts, drastically cheaper. I mean, you can see 67 and 42 cents for one strikeout. The money here, 46 cents. I mean, it's very obvious that puts are currently cheaper, meaning that market makers are more inclined to collect premium from the downside. They're more likely to sell puts, which is inherently a bullish thing. But despite that, the stock has obviously been going down. You can see, I mean, I don't have to tell you that. We were down 8.61% today, down 1.1% in the after hours. If you were to look at this on TradingView, what you're going to notice is the same thing. I mean, it just looks incredibly bearish. I mean, nothing looks very strong right now. So what's the reasoning behind this, right? Why is everything struggling really the way that it is? And for me, it comes down to a very simple thing. I've used this analogy before. I'll use it again. And this is why I really haven't talked about Amy the last couple days. You know, I kind of gave my rundown on what I think is going on with the market and some of the worries that I personally have, and because of that, you know, nothing's really changed, and it's just been pain, and nothing's really changed from that. But I view it as this, right? And I've used this before. I'll say it again. This is sort of like a beach, right? You got this beach right here, and you've got the ocean. The ocean's usually very calm, very timid, whatever. It's chilling. And over here, you've got some beach goers. Here's a little dude. Here's maybe a little party house. So maybe we're in Texas. I don't know. You got a hotel over here. You got a big apartment complex. And all of a sudden, you see this huge wave coming in. And in this wave, you've got a whole bunch of different things. You've got CPI concerns. You've got rate hike concerns. You've got this China lockdown stuff. You've got tech earnings performing kind of mediocre. And there's a whole lot of things that are in this wave. And this wave has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it is starting to come up to the shore. And on the shore, you've got this beach goer who's just getting freaking butt clapped by a wave. You've got this party house getting butt clapped by a wave. You've got this hotel getting butt clapped by a wave. This apartment complex butt clapped by the wave. Everything gets hit. I mean, truly the things that will withstand the most damage maybe is like a huge building. Like you've got like a tsunami shelter, so to speak. And even this is going to take damage. You can think of this as maybe like the SPY, right? The SPY is really sort of the the shelter in terms of how much damage is done. And everything else is every other ticker in the market. This little beachgoer right here, maybe this is Netflix. I mean, Netflix is taking I think the brunt of everything going on. It should really be a company that, despite any sort of economic problems, survives pretty decently. But that just shows you where the economy is currently at. Here you've got AMC. Here you've got other small mids. Here you've got Tesla. I mean, you just go down the list. Everything's getting hit by the wave right now. I mean, we really have to be able to zoom out and look at the grand scale picture in terms of what's happening. What you're going to notice, if you look at my screen right now, is everything's red. I mean, really the only thing green is UVXY, and you know why that's. Anytime you've got mass bleeding, you're going to have the exact opposite of hemorrhaging, which is maybe a Band-Aid. I mean, that's UVXY looks really good. I mean, if you're playing this, you're sitting all right. But nothing's surviving. That wave is hitting every single thing on the beach. It's hitting everything in town. And that is truly what's at stake here, and that's what's holding, I think, AMC down. I know that I say this sort of thing over and over, and I've used that analogy before, but it's because it's genuinely the truth. I mean, if you look at the SPY right now and you see sort of the massive correction that we have had, this is painting you a picture, and the picture is massive amounts of fear. The market is very fearful right now. People are not comfortable with the Fed. They're not comfortable with inflation. They're not comfortable with the rate hikes, especially the flip-flopping of the rate hikes. The uncertainty is at an all-time high. I think that you've not seen uncertainty like this in a very long time, and it just goes to show by looking at the strength in bulls. There's no strength. You look at the current chart, sell off, small bounce, sell off. I mean, the bulls couldn't reclaim anything today. It's really just painful to see. And every critical level the SPY's tried to touch has just been rejected. I mean, it broke here, broke back down, rejected, hard sell-off. I mean, that's just the honest to God truth is nothing is holding. And if that's for the entire market, that's going to rub off, sadly, into AMC. There's no beating around the bush here. There's no other way to say it. The only thing that would really be able to combat this, and really what you'd have to look for, is a negative beta. Now, we've talked about this before, but a negative beta is when the buyers of a specific stock typically do not correlate with other stocks in the market. Maybe that means that since this is primarily a retail-owned stock, it wouldn't move like an institutionally owned stock. You would expect this. In fact, I would personally expect this. And the reason I don't think negative beta presently exists is because of the options chain. I think this tool is an opportunity for the volatility and the insane swings up and down that we see on the ticker to happen via market makers and institutions and banks and the like, you know. Options allow this to sort of not act like a negative beta stock, even if it is owned 90% by retail investors, whatever, because of the leveraging opportunity here. I mean, if you load up, you're trading 1 million contracts on a day or a week or whatever it may be. You multiply that by 100 shares, you've got 100 million shares of volume, basically just synthetically created, you know, and that's coming from the options market. So when will this end? You know, to me, the chart equals the SPY. It doesn't always correlate. Sometimes you look at the SPY, and sometimes AMC has diverted itself from the absolute. There's no other way to put it. I mean, if you flip this upside down, it looks parabolic. But unfortunately, we can't do that. You can't. Why can't I just? we can't flip it up as upside down. This is just a parabolic move to the downside. When I think AMC recovers, along with small mids, is when SPY stops suffering. I genuinely think that. And I think what that comes down to is, where's the pricing end, right? Where do people feel comfortable with, okay, we've priced in the uncertainty of how the Fed is treating inflation and how the Fed is treating rate hikes and how the Fed is sort of reacting to a lot of the different things that are happening in the economy right now. And that's kind of my take. I mean, you really sort of, you're singing Jesus Take the Wheel until the sell-off ends, until the pain ends. Everything is going to suffer until the pain ends, you know? And there are ways to combat that. You can play puts on XYZ stocks. You can hedge against your position. You can protect yourself from downside. Whatever you want to do, it's entirely up to you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. But this is just the truth, you know. As much as I like the setup, AMC has had a solid opportunity, lots of opportunities to bounce. I read the chart, and the chart is what it is. There's opportunity there. The market's just not strong enough. It's not. And if the market's weak, AMC is going to be weak. That's just the absolute truth here. So I think sell-off ends when the SPY sell-off ends. When you get a nice bounce here, you're going to get it in AMC. Which brings me to the SPY, right? Actually, at first I'm going to read you this, because we got to split up. Take a quick breath of air. All right, we're coming up from the depths of the ocean. You can take your scuba diving mask off. Let's read this. Robinhood will cut about 9% of its full-time employees. Now, to say that I shed a tear of happiness, to say that that I got a half chub in my wiener got a half chub reading this news, be an understatement, because fuck these guys. That's why. Robinhood can suck the skin on my nutsack. Robinhood will cut about 9% of its full-time employees, and I think this is very indicative of the situation that Robinhood is in presently. They like to pretend like, oh, we're innovative. We're the knight in shining armor. We're the Robin Hood to the Batman. But in reality, they're the Joker. They're the Joker, man. And this is just showing you that they're struggling and that people are leaving. You don't let go of employees unless they don't have work to do, or if they can't afford to pay them. You know, and if it's either one of those two things, they don't have work to do or they can't afford to pay them, I would probably lean on they can't afford to pay them. And that comes down to less revenue being generated from their business, which means people are leaving. Things are going entirely as planned. And I'm absolutely actually okay with this. I'm not a fan of Robinhood. I mean, obviously, I don't think that's a hot take. That's a pretty cold take. That's like saying, Elon's rich. Hot take. Did you know that? No, what? But I thought you'd get a kick out of that. There's really not much more to say, but there's that for you in case you're wondering. Also at an all-time low. So if you want to feel good about yourself, all you got to do, very simple stuff, right? This will put a smile right on your face. Come over to Robinhood's chart, HOOD. What you'll notice is it's at 9:55 in the after hours. From a high of $85. Charles Gasparino. Anywho, let's move on to the next stuff. What's going to be important to pay attention to right now for AMC and for everything in the market is really going to depend on the SPY. The SPY is a reflection of what buyers, both retail and institution, think of the economy, their reaction to the economy, their reaction to sort of what's taking place on a day-to-day basis, right? And right now, people are fearful. There's a lot of fear. And this comes down to a couple of different things. Big things, obviously, inflation and basis point hikes. We already know this, but inflation's been pretty gnarly. And many speculate that this has not quite peaked yet. We saw an 8.5% inflation rate coming from the last CPI data, whatever. And because of this, the Fed has been very aggressive. They've taken a very hawkish stance. They'd like to add 2 potentially 50 basis point hikes, which is aggressive. It's more aggressive. It's more hawkish than the Fed has initially led on to investors. First, they said inflation's transitory, and now they say it's the Putin inflation or whatever, as if we didn't print off 80% of all money in existence, which is $16 trillion. That's how much was printed in the last 2 years, as if that didn't happen. But I digress. Nonetheless, this is really the two big concerns, right? Is this going to be enough? Is the Fed going to stick to their plan? Really, I think it's that. Is the Fed going to stick to their plan? And is this actually going to help out inflation? My gut punch reaction, if we see inflation come out and it still hasn't peaked with this next CPI data release, I think they might even be more aggressive. They initially hinted at maybe even a 75 basis point hike, and they took that off the table real quick because I think they saw how the market reacted to that and didn't like it. But I think that's not off the table. I think that they may end up doing this if inflation still continues to rise. Will it? I don't know. I'm hoping for stagnation. I think if it's at 8.3%, 8.5, even 8.6, that's pretty good. I think that's a sign of at least a slowdown in the rise of inflation, but it is a lagging indicator. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see that continue to rise. I think that inflation is likely worse than we're being led on to believe, and I think that most of the market realizes this as well. So these are uncertainties, right? Let's just make a list of uncertainties and what we have to sort of get rid of in the market for people to feel pretty decently comfortable. Big things, Fed's ability. They want to see results. I think at this point, that's really what it comes down to is, hey, we're not gonna really stop pricing in this stuff until we see that it's over. Fed's ability to combat. Whoa, I don't know what that was. That was goof. Fed's ability to combat inflation. And then inflation itself. Two big things, uncertainties, right? These are the really, really, really huge ones right now. Not a lot of talk about Russia and Ukraine at the moment. That's obviously still a conflict that continues on. And if you were to absolutely take care of that war, if that war ended, that'd be a pretty big help as well. But there are a couple other things. And this is something that I mentioned before. Elon Musk sort of was talking about that I found to be quite interesting, and it was the China GDP per capita. I find this to be pretty fascinating. China's currently in a lockdown, and I was reading an article that kind of popped up, and it was this: China scrambles to outpace U.S. GDP growth amid lockdown report. Let me just read off a quick piece of this. As China reels from its COVID-19 lockdown efforts, its leaders are scrambling to stay ahead of the United States on economic growth. China's actually growing at a faster economic pace than the United States is. Now, this may seem kind of goofy because you look at the Chinese GDP per capita, it's $9,771, right? It's drastically lower than the United States, which is $62,790. The difference, however, is population. China's got 1.39 billion people, and the United States has 326 million, which comes out to an economy as such. You would take the GDP per capita, you would multiply that by the population, you get your total economy of the country. $13.6 trillion for China and $20.5 trillion for the United States. Now, that's a large difference. The United States economy is still drastically larger. However, if it continues on pace to grow, as this is sort of initially, been led to state, China scrambles to outpace U.S. GDP growth amid lockdown report. If this continues on, I think this is a concern that the United States may face. That's not being talked about quite as much as it probably should. I think this is really sort of a very macro concern. I don't think that if I know anything about the United States and Americans, it's that we're existentialists, right? We don't like to react to something until it threatens our way of life. And this currently doesn't threaten our way of life. It's not quite there yet. So does this affect really the day-to-day today? No, not necessarily. But I think 3 to 5 years from now, this is going to be something we're probably going to revisit. And I'll be making a video then. I don't know. Today's April 26, 2022. I'll revisit this. In 3 to 5 years' time. And we'll see where things are at. GDP per capita and economy. This is a little concerning to me. The United States, everything kind of goes in cycles, right? The powerhouse countries of the world, they kind of cycle and stuff. But China's growing at a rate that's pretty quick. I mean, this could very, very quickly sort of gap close before we know it, and that's going to affect sort of the outlook of the United States in the future, and maybe some deals that we get. Who do we owe debt to? How is debt paid off? These are all big things. Excuse me. Which brings me into the last thing, important levels for the SPY. I've got these hashed out. I mean, every single critical level, it is basically broken. The real oh shit line is right here at about $410. Break under 410, and I think you could very quickly see this drop down to $400. And from 400, that'd be a nasty flush, man. That'd be gross. We would not enjoy seeing that. The first big spot that we could see a hold is 404. Down from there is about 397. Down from there is about 394. These are the levels. I mean, that's really it, which kind of brings me into the play of the day for tomorrow, what I would personally be watching for a call and for a put situation. Let me just zoom in. I'm going to draw this out for you on TradingView, as I find this to be sort of the easiest way to paint the picture. There's two different scenarios, as always, calls and puts, right? If this, then that. There's a 4-step sort of process for me. Entry, stop loss, runners, exit. Have a plan. That's just my plan. Whatever yours is, that's cool. But let me draw up the two scenarios. Call scenario, I'm going to draw in green. What I would look for is very simple. Push up, retest as support, push up. Entry on the retest, right?
That would be a call scenario to me. Seems pretty simple, right? This critical level is going to mark out at what appears to be about 415 bucks or so. So I'd look for an entry at about 415 bucks. After it breaks it, I'd want to take that retest as an entry. That'd be a pretty solid opportunity, right? More likely to me, but we'll be prepared either way. You'll be prepared either way, is a breakdown. In which case, I think it would look something like this. Push down, push up as a retest, push down. And then you would take an entry right here at that same exact level, 415. I'd take retest. That's me, right? Sometimes I miss opportunities like that. Sometimes I don't get into plays because of that. I'm okay with that, right? I like to have that confirmation so that I have a surefire way to identify a good entry that lines up nice with my personal plans. And then I can set an easy stop loss. I know where to take my runners. And then the exits is just going to be sort of the next critical levels. Exit here, exit here. Exit here. You're just looking for clean hashes, you know, and that's a pretty clean hash that I'd personally be watching for. And that's sort of the levels on the SPY. Things look tough, and I want to give this reminder. I know this is a long video. We're already 21 minutes in. I'll sort of wrap it up with this. Things are tough right now, right? I'm not here to pretend that things aren't tough, because it is. The market's gross. Things look really bad, and this affects real people's lives, your lives. And the stock market can sometimes be cold, and people forget that people are behind the screen at the end of the day and that real money's on the line. So I always like to put out a reminder here, you know, that if you're in a spot mentally, or financially or physically where you need to take a step back away from the screen, where you need to take money out of your account to take care of yourself, do it. Do it. I can't emphasize this enough. I can't stress this enough. Fuck the culture thing, right? I know that we have this idea in our minds that no matter what, this is the way. This has to be the way. But you have to take care of you, all right? If you're in a spot right now where you are suffering, take care of you. That's gotta happen. You can't give to others. You can't give to yourself if you have nothing to give. Right? Keep the roof over your head, feed yourself, make sure you're happy. These are all important things. So I wanted to take the time to discuss that. And that's what I've got for this video here today. So guys, until the next one, I appreciate you tuning in. Things will get better. Who knows when, but this will eventually end, and we'll keep you updated. Until then, in the meantime, much love, light taps, and peace.